Week 15 of the 2025 NFL season is officially in the books. And this week, we got some highs and we got some lows. So in today's video, I want to cover week 15 of the 2025 NFL season, what happened and why were there the highs and why were there the lows. Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys go on to enjoy. Let's hop into it. And we are going to begin with the Atlanta Falcons upsetting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 29-28. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been one of the weirder teams of the season, right? They started off the season with so much momentum, so much hype. Emeka Egbuka, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and things were rolling in the first half of the season, even despite the fact that we did not get to see the full complement of weapons on that offense. So this game, you finally had them all back, and it just wasn't great. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the Buccaneers did not look great. Their defense was giving up a lot of stuff to Bijan. Kirk Cousins had a really good game, and the offense, they played fairly well throughout the day, but there was times where there were some stagnant moments. The interception by Baker was bad. They couldn't run the ball extremely efficiently. It was just a little bit disappointing. Now, it was great to see Mike Evans go out there and have a baller game. I thought he was dominating the secondary the entire night. I thought Tampa Bay had a lot of opportunities to really run away with this thing, but they just kind of let Atlanta hang around the rim, and Atlanta scored their points in kind of bunches, 14 in the second, 15 in the fourth. It wasn't like Atlanta was putting together drive after drive after drive. It was really just the little moments where Atlanta had a nice drive here or there, and that's all that really mattered at the end of the day. Again, it's been a really weird year for Tampa Bay. I think there's going to have to be some serious conversations after the season about what you do with Baker Mayfield, what you do with your head coach, Todd Bowles, because let's be honest, a game like this does not invoke a ton of confidence, especially when you have a pretty solid roster put together. So we'll see how they end the season. I think it's going to be very important for them to somehow make the playoffs for Baker's sake and for Todd Bowles' sake, because if they don't make the playoffs, then that's going to be tough for them. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens dominating the Cincinnati Bengals 24-0. So I just want to say this, Mr. Joe Burrow, I had you on my fantasy team and you scored a total of -3 points. Really? All right. Anyways, I should have started Jared Goff. I had Jared Goff on my freaking bench. Joe Burrow, he played, I guess, fine, minus the 2 interceptions. I mean, the 2 interceptions were not great interceptions. Like, there's good interceptions where it's not really your fault, but it just kind of freakishly happens, and we'll talk about that here in a second with another quarterback. But when it comes to Burrow, those interceptions were mostly his fault in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not going to put all the blame on him. The defense was trash this game too, but it was a nothing ball game after the first quarter, and it's looking like it's a defensive showdown. And then Baltimore's offense got going, and you never saw the response from Cincinnati, right? Like Baltimore, I mean, it wasn't like Baltimore was really having a ton of plays. Like Lamar threw it 12 times. Derrick Henry only ran it 11 times. Meanwhile, for Cincinnati, they dominated the time of possession by basically a total of 10 minutes. They had more first downs and they had plenty of more opportunities, but they still were outgained by Baltimore, right? So in a game where you had more of the volume, you had more opportunities to make plays, you didn't really do nothing with it. Whereas for Baltimore, they were doing stuff with the opportunities they did have. For Baltimore, I mean, this is obviously a big win. You're still trying to win the division and make a potential playoff run. And this defense looks good. Like, if this defense can shut out Cincinnati, then I feel like the defense is now kind of getting back on track. They got some guys back from injury. They're starting to play a little bit better. They need this offense to start picking it up. And, a game like this where the offense finds a little bit of rhythm, the run game gets going, hopefully it can bring up some, newfound hope for this Ravens team moving forward. But as for the Bengals, man, this just looked like a depressing performance. I don't even really mean to attach this performance to the interview we had with Joe Burrow, but that interview was so bad. Like, it basically sounded like Burrow was contemplating retirement. And if you watch this game, it was just a very uninspiring performance from this team. That's not a good position to be in if you're Cincinnati. I think there has to be a lot of questions that are answered this offseason about Burrow's future and the future of this team in general. I think it's really interesting. Next up, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders getting pummeled 0-31 by the Philadelphia Eagles. So are the Philadelphia Eagles back? Let's take a chill pill. No, they're not back yet. Let's see them go up against some better competition. They have some tougher teams down the road. This game versus the Raiders, I mean, look, if the Eagles lost to the freaking Raiders, then yeah, the Eagles were completely falling apart. I don't think they're completely falling apart like maybe what they were doing back in 2023. I do think they still have some things to figure out. And in this game, you saw moments where it was like, gosh, that was a little ugly. But 99% of this game, you knew who was going to win it. You knew who was dominating. And I give credit to Philadelphia. They got some things going in the ground game. Dallas Goedert probably should have had 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 touchdowns on the day, had a monster day. And on the flip side, I mean, my God, Las Vegas stinks. Kenny Pickett was trash. Genty got nothing going. Bowers had 6 catches, but it's a bad football team. It's just a bad football team. So it's tough to look up this game and really talk much about it. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated, so good for them. Next up, the Houston Texans 40-20 against the Arizona Cardinals. The start of the year was so bad for this Houston Texans offense, but they have really kind of gotten back on track these past maybe 5 or 6 weeks now, where the start of the season, there was genuine conversations about this offense being by far and away the worst offense in the NFL, minus like maybe Tennessee and those young, really developing teams. But for Houston, it was a situation where you are such a good defense and you're a contending team, but your offense was so bad. But now they got this offense rolling. And with the way the AFC is kind of playing out right now, I think Houston's one of those teams that quietly might be a for real contender in that conference. CJ Stroud's playing great football. Nico Collins, some big touchdowns he had out there. They got the run game going with obviously Woody Marks a little bit, but Jawar Jordan, who I'm not gonna lie to you guys, haven't heard that name in a long time, but shout out to him. He had 101 yards on 15 carries with a 50-yard play out there too. So shout out to him. Dalton Schultz made some big plays. Look, the Cardinals are bad. All right, they're just a bad football team, and going up against the Texans defense was always going to be a tall task for Jacoby Brissett. But as I've talked about with this Cardinals team, I still think they're fun as hell. Like, they are just fun because they know they can't run the football because they just don't have the bodies or the offensive line. So Jacoby Brissett is going out there and just throwing it 40 to 50 times a game. And I think it's great. I think it's fun to see this sort of different style of football. Obviously, it's never going to work in this league, but at this point, like, you have nothing left to lose. Why not let Jacoby just air the rock out? And he had 40 passing attempts, 3 touchdowns, 249 yards. I would love to know if he has set the record for the most passing attempts in like a certain span, because I swear to God, he's passed it over 35 times, 40 times in every single game he's played this year. It's been awesome. Shout out to Jacoby Brissett, but yeah, they're still losing games though, so that stinks. Although maybe it doesn't. Maybe you want to be bad at this point. All right, next up, 16-13, the Los Angeles Chargers defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. So the first things first, we got to talk about the Patrick Mahomes injury. It's just, it's bad, man. As I literally was recording this video, it just popped up that he did in fact tear his ACL. Now, is it like, there's certain levels of tearing your ACL. Like, is it a complete tear? Did you tear your other ligaments in there? We don't know all that yet, but a torn ACL is a torn ACL. You get the gist. He's out for the season. And I mean, at this stage, like, Kansas City, honestly, I think Kansas City would be wise, even if he was able to return. And let's just say it wasn't a torn ACL. I still just think let him sit out the rest of the season, right? The season's done. You're not making the playoffs. There's no reason to fight. Go get yourself a top 12, top 13 pick and add a massive talent like a Jeremiah Love or a top wide receiver or a top corner or a top edge rusher. Like, Kansas City is in sort of a weird spot where they still got a lot of pieces to work with, but over the years, the talent has kind of left the roster and guys have gotten a little bit older and you're getting some guys not playing as well and the coaching staff is not as good as it once was. I think this is a pivotal year for Kansas City. It's just a shame that Patrick Mahomes did in fact tear his ACL because he was having a pretty good year this year, all things considered. He was really the only life force of that Chiefs offense. And I'm not saying Mahomes should have won MVP, but he was playing some good football given the circumstances around him. Now we're going to get Gardner Minshew, and I think Minshew's fine. Who might win them a game or two, but realistically speaking, do they want to win? Probably not. As for the Chargers, big time win here. Herbert is continuing to sling the rock around despite the fact he's getting sacked and pressured what feels like every other play. Good thing they got Amari and Hampton back. He's helping kind of give some balance to this offense. Rondé Gatson has been a kind of a revelation in that tight end room. They also got Trey Harris some looks as well. He had a big 37-yard play, so good to see him out there. They got so many weapons on this offense. Then that was kind of the issue heading into the season was, oh, they have this great offensive line, but they could use some weapons. And now we're looking at it. It's like, oh, they have all these great weapons and running backs, but the offensive line is shit, right? That's just sometimes how life works. But the Chargers are a 10-win football team with a couple of games left to go. They're basically a lock for the playoffs. And while I don't think they're going to make a playoff run, I could see them winning a game or two in the playoffs because Herbert is he's just that guy. So we'll see. Next up, maybe the game of the week. The Buffalo Bills come back to defeat the New England Patriots 35-31. So the game starts off and New England just rips off 21 straight points, right? Josh Allen is not playing great. The run game hasn't been going. Everyone, it felt like Buffalo was just so focused on the Josh Allen, Haley Steinfeld pregnancy. Like, it was just bad, right? Patriots were singing, they were dancing, they were flexing their muscles. I mean, it looked like the Patriots were going to run away with this thing. And then Buffalo goes down, they get a score, but then the Patriots respond with a field goal. And we go into halftime 24-7, and it's like, whoa, the Patriots might be the #1 seed in the AFC. They're going to run away with the division. They're going to be a massive threat in the playoffs. which they still will be, by the way, but still. Then all of a sudden that third quarter happens, and Drake May and the Patriots offense is slowing down a little bit. They're not having that many explosive plays. Josh Allen's getting rolling a little bit. James Cook's making some things happen. And by the time we get to the fourth quarter, we're in a massive ball game here. It's 21-24. It's anyone's game. Then freaking Travion Henderson, massive touchdown. I mean, he had some big plays out there. But Buffalo kept responding over and over and over again. And unfortunately, the Patriots just did not have enough responses today, right? I thought Drake May played great in the first really 2 quarters. And it wasn't like he was bad in the second half. It was just that the Patriots just kind of struggled a little bit more, right? They couldn't run the ball the same effectiveness. The passing game was a little bit, hit or miss. It was just different, right? From the first half where everything was working. And sometimes that's life in football. This was a playoff-like game. And if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm actually kind of happy that this happened at this moment because they have just been cruising along the past few weeks, beating good teams and bad teams, but just feeling so high and mighty while never really going through the adversity in season, right? Obviously, the first 3 weeks, there was some adversity, but there wasn't expectations. Now there is this newfound expectation of potentially going after a championship. So having this moment where your ego's at its highest, you're playing as great as you ever have, and then you lose, that could be the moment where it's like, okay, let's refocus, let's get back into this thing. We have a long season left to go. I firmly still believe the Patriots are contenders, especially as they get a bit more healthy with Will Campbell coming back. This might have been a good thing for the Patriots. Not trying to like gaslight Bills fans or anything like that. Great win for freaking Buffalo, man. This game gets them 1 game closer to the division. They're a threat in the playoffs too. But for the Patriots, I think there is a bright side to this thing. No pun intended. All right, next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars defeat the New York Jets 48-20. Not much to talk about with this one. Trevor Lawrence just put on damn near a masterclass. This is probably his best game, maybe of his entire career. He was incredible. 6 touchdowns total, 330 passing yards, 51 rushing yards. Like Trevor is sometimes can be so inconsistent, but this was an awesome game for him. And look, Jackson was 10-4, man. And it's not like their schedule has been light. Like they've had some juggernauts on their schedule. And now, obviously, that Rams game is still kind of looming in your head, but they've just responded. They're a 10-4 team. They're probably going to win their division. You can't be more impressed with this team. What they are doing this year with Liam Cohen has been so impressive. Whereas for the Jets, you started Brady Cook. And Brady Cook made a couple plays. That touchdown pass to Adonai Mitchell, hook him, by the way, and I guess Go Mizzou. I don't know what they say over there. But I thought they made some things happen, but I mean, look, realistically speaking, Brady Cook was not going to do much this game. They scored 20 points. The defense gave up 48. It's going to be a long rebuild for this Jets team. So good for Jacksonville, though. Good win. Next up, the Washington Commanders defeat the New York Giants 29-21. So Washington looked like they were going to run away with this thing. It was a 22-7 game at halftime. It was 22-14 heading into the fourth quarter. But then slowly but surely, the Giants started making some things happen. And next thing you know, they have an opportunity to go down and win the game, or not win the game, but tie the game up. And of course, it didn't end up happening. Still, it was a little bit like, hey, now, Washington, don't fuck this up. Washington gets the win, though. Marcus Mariota played very well. Corey Krosky, Merritt, or Bill played great. Terry McLaurin with a big-time touchdown catch. And on the flip side for the Giants, I thought Jackson Dart played well. I thought it took him a little bit to get into his game, but I thought once he got rolling, he made some nice things happen. Tyrone Tracy looked really good out there, had a couple really nice runs, especially that touchdown run. Obviously, Wando Robinson's been big for them this season. It does feel like had the Giants had a Malik Neighbors and a Cam Scatterbo, this would have been a more obtainable game, but with how injured and banged up they are, like it was just going to be tough. So both these teams obviously probably wanted to lose, but at the same time, pride and keep on fighting. Like good for Washington. As for the Giants, like you look at the rest of their schedule, they have the Vikings next week and they have the Raiders and the Cowboys. That Raiders game could potentially set up who gets the #1 pick. So we'll have to wait and see. I feel like neither one of those guys are going to want to win that one. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But good for the Commanders to keep on fighting, and they're going to have a top 10 pick regardless, though. So next up, the Chicago Bears dominate the Cleveland Browns 31-3. This felt like a bit of a spiteful game from the Bears. They got beat last week by the Packers, and this game just kind of felt like they just wanted to bully someone, and that's exactly what they did. Caleb Williams, this offense just felt borderline unstoppable for a lot of this game. And, when I did my prediction, I, of course, picked Chicago to win, but I was still hoping this Browns defense that has been really good for most of the year would slow down Chicago enough to give Shador some opportunities. But no, the Browns defense for whatever reason, has fallen off a cliff. Maybe it's due to injuries and things of that nature. Malik Collins not being able to go has always been tough for them. The Chicago Bears get a big-time win versus a bad opponent. They're 10-4 and are now back on top of the division because the Packers lost today and the Detroit Lions. So everything that went wrong last week, everything went right this week. So good for the Chicago Bears. They're now potentially back at home in the playoffs, so good for them. As for the Browns, I think a lot of people are going to look at this Shedeur stat line and say, oh, the 3 interceptions, 18 of 35. He didn't play that great. Well, I think we need to add some context to those interceptions, right? The first one was a tipped pass that wasn't really his fault. It was a great play by the defender. The second one was 100,000% Jerry Jeudy's fault. Shedeur dropped an absolute dime in the bucket for what would have been touchdown pass, and Jeudy just dropped it, right? Now, the third one, can't really excuse that. He tried to take a shot, a little hole shot there on the outside, and he got undercut there a little bit. But at that point of the game was kind of over. He was just trying to force something down the field. So even that one I can kind of excuse. I mean, he threw 3 picks. It's obviously not ideal, but he had no running game in this one. He was running for his life. Yes, Shedeur holds onto the ball way too long. He's definitely got to figure that out. That's just something that, you know, as a Browns fan, you got to get used to. But I felt like Shedeur did some really nice things out there. Like, genuinely speaking, some of those shots to Isaiah Bond were some really nice passes. With no ground game and with the terrible defense today, there wasn't really much I could put on Shedeur, but at the same time, you want to see Shedeur play ideally better in this situation. So a bad stat line for Shedeur, but I think if you actually sat down and watched it, you can find some positives to take away from this. Moving on, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints upsetting the Carolina Panthers 20-17. So we've been talking about this roller coaster that has been the Panthers season, where one week they win and everything's great, and the next week they lose and everything stinks. Well, we just kind of have the same thing here. The Panthers are coming off a massive win versus the freaking Rams, and they lose another game to the freaking New Orleans Saints. It's bizarre. I'm going to put more of the focus here on the Panthers side of things because this game has more playoff implications, but credit to Tyler Shock, man. He can play, man. He's a good player, and his best games have been against the Panthers. If you watch both those tape, I think he did some really impressive things. He ran the ball well. He was fighting. He looked really banged up towards the end of this game, but he was fighting consistently, led some massive drives. Like, they were down in the fourth quarter, I think a touchdown, and he led a massive touchdown drive that ended in a Chris Olave play, and then the game-winning field goal. Like, you got to give credit to this guy because he got shit on by a lot of people, kind of including myself in some ways. He's playing great, and so if I'm a Saints fan, like, hey, I don't know if he's yet the future, but for now, for next year, absolutely he's the guy, right? He's played well enough this year to earn himself another season to prove his worth, and if he keeps playing like this, man, he might be the guy. Now, on the flip side for Carolina, what a bad loss here, man. This is not a good New Orleans Saints team, and you're now tied in the division with the Buccaneers with the chance to jump them, but because you didn't win a game versus what was a 3-win football team, now you're stuck in line there. Now, granted, for Carolina, they do have the 2 matchups with Tampa Bay coming up, but still, you could have had a bit of a buffer in between you and felt like, okay, we are now the #1 seed, you know, coasting along, but you let that roller coaster continue, and it's been so frustrating for Panthers fans where it's like, I just want to get behind this team and root for them every single week, but I just know that crash and that high is just going to be so up and down. And that's kind of what we got here today. Now, I want to say this. I thought Bryce played actually pretty well in this one. Now, the numbers aren't going to stand out to you, but 15 of 24 for 163 and a touchdown. He also led the team in rushing yards with 49 on 7 carries. Like, you know, I feel like that's respectable enough. And watching the game, like, I'm not saying he was Superman out there, but I thought he was making the right play more often than not. But they just didn't really ever capitalize. It felt like a bit of a conservative game plan, and I don't know, just wasn't the game that Carolina was looking for. So in a game where they probably should have won, they did not. And that's unfortunate, right? The Saints outgained them in every single way, and that's very disappointing. So shout out to the Saints, man. Good for them to continue to stack on wins and see how this young quarterback can play. As for the Panthers, a busted opportunity to say the least. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams defeat the Detroit Lions 41-34. Let's start off with the LA Rams side of things here because they had some major injuries that we're going to have to keep an eye on in this one moving forward, right? Devontae Adams with the hamstring, you know, coming back up again. He was dealing with that throughout the week. Looks like he might have re-aggravated it. Hopefully that's not something that's going to keep him out for the playoffs, but hamstrings are a very tricky thing, and if you don't treat them right, which clearly maybe they didn't do in this case, it could come up to bite you in the ass later. They're going to need him because he's a massive piece to this offense. And then Puka Nacua kind of came up gimpy towards the end there. Now, he did take an end around to end the game, basically, but, still, he did not look 100% even on that play. Puka Nacua is arguably like the most important player on this offense. Like, he is such an important, pivotal piece. He does so much for this unit. You lose Puka Nacua for a potential couple games with how tight this division is, with how tight the NFC is, that could be bad moving forward. Now, for the Los Angeles Rams moving forward, next week you have a massive game versus Seattle, and unfortunately it's on Thursday, so that's tough. But then you have the Falcons, and then you end with the Cardinals. So if you can just find a way to get, squeeze a game out of Puka Nacua one more time, that would be great. Now, on the flip side of things for the Detroit Lions, I mean, it's been a rough year for Detroit in a lot of ways. Amon-Ra St. Brown was dominant today. 13 for 164 and 2 touchdowns. It felt like most of that production was in the first half, basically. It felt like in the second half, he was quite quiet, but, they couldn't run the ball that well. Jahmyr Gibbs only had 38 yards on 13 carries. David Montgomery had a touchdown, but didn't really do much other outside of that. And Jared Goff, he looked fine out there, right? He made some plays. There was a couple passes that kind of got away from him a little bit, but yeah, they're 8-6 with the way the NFC is shaping up and with their schedule. Like, they have Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and Chicago. If they run the table and finish, what would it be? I guess 11-6, that would be their schedule. If they go 11-6, I think they could potentially make the playoffs. I don't think they're completely out of it, but you take one more loss, it's probably done with, right? 10-7 just doesn't feel like you're going to be able to make it with that schedule. So disappointing loss here for the Lions. They were up at halftime, and that third quarter is going to come back to bite them in the butt. So unfortunate for them. Next up, let's talk about Phillip Rivers getting the start for the Indianapolis Colts, but losing 16-18 against the Seahawks. Look, I'm not going to focus on the Seattle Seahawks here. I'm obviously going to talk about one of the biggest and most crazy stories we've ever seen in Phillip freaking Rivers coming back off of 5 years on hiatus in retirement with his freaking 30,000 kids coming back in this game. And I mean, outside of the interception to end the game, I thought Rivers was kind of playing decent football. Now, I will say, why are we not starting Riley Leonard? I know it's fun that Phillip is playing, and sure, Phillip's the vet. He's not going to turn the ball over much. He's going to make the right plays. But why? Like, wouldn't the development of Riley Leonard be a bit more important than trying to contend with Phillip Rivers? Like, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, it was good to see Indianapolis and their defense play a lot better in this game. Their defense was actually really good out there, slowing down the run game for Seattle, slowing down Sam a little bit as well. It took the Seahawks, honestly, a lot of time to get this thing rolling. They got some possessions in the red zone, but they were forced to kick a ton of field goals, which, shout out to Myers. He had himself a freaking day out there. Also, shout out to the Indianapolis kicker as well. I can't remember his name, but he made a massive field goal too that put them up late. And then, of course, the defense stunk it up in the, 20 seconds left, and Seattle kicks the game winner field goal there. But yeah, I thought Rivers, generally speaking, played okay. Like, this is a guy who's in his freaking 40s, and he's off a 5 year of a hiatus. He's only been on the team for about a week, so he's probably learning the playbook, learning the tendencies of the players in real time. But he was making some throws out there. Now, were they high level throws, tight window throws, 50-yard bombs down the field like maybe he once was able to do so? Of course not. Most of the stuff he was doing was like really quick outs, hitches, slants, just like super basic things, screens, just to get him some completions and move the offense and have the passing game be respectable, which is fine, right? Because Jonathan Taylor played well in this one. I mean, they obviously stacked the box. They made it very hard and difficult for that line to create explosives, but they still were able to manufacture enough. And for Indianapolis, you're 8-6. Like, again, I think you should go with Riley Leonard, but with their remaining schedule with 49ers, Jacksonville, and Houston, I don't think they're going to win another game. I just don't see the defense playing this well moving forward, and I just don't see Phillip Rivers being able to survive those tough teams. Now, San Francisco is not the greatest defense, but they got a great DC. But maybe Rivers could succeed a little bit because they don't have a pass rush right now. But yeah, to me, just start Riley Leonard. Like, I get it, Rivers is probably a better quarterback today, but I feel like the long-term future play of Riley Leonard would be more important than the 3 remaining games of Rivers' career. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Next up, let's talk about the Denver Broncos defeating the Green Bay Packers 34-26. The Denver Broncos, look, I know that Bo Nix gets a lot of crap. This might have been his best game in one of the biggest games of his young career. This is a Green Bay team that I know they're 9-4-1. They're going to be a playoff team. They potentially could win their division. They could go on a deep playoff run. That's a really freaking good Green Bay football team. And the Denver Broncos beat them. And they soundly, by the end of this game, it was a pretty conclusive victory for this Broncos team. It wasn't like I think there's certain games where it's like, yeah, they kind of got away with some things, right? Where special teams get involved and maybe a crazy interception turns this game on its head. Like, no, this was a game where the Broncos had to earn everything. And Bo Nix was great. 23 of 34 for 302 and 4 touchdowns. RJ Harvey made some plays. Cortland Sutton made some big time plays. Like, this was a really good game for Denver. Like, this is the kind of 4-quarter performance we have been looking from Denver, and we got it in this game in one of their biggest matchups of the season. They're running away with the AFC. They're running away with their division. They're going to win their division. Right now, it looks like they might be the team that gets the bye, and that could be awesome for Bo Nix. That could be awesome for Denver. Shout out to Denver, man. This is a great situation to be in. Bo Nix is now starting to play a lot better football. This defense is incredible. They were getting after Jordan Love all day long, and we'll talk about the Packers side here in a second, but I thought Denver's defense played mostly really well. Now, on the flip side, for the Green Bay Packers, man, some massive injuries popped up here, and unfortunately, if the injuries are what we suspect them to be, they could potentially be season altering, to say the bare minimum. Like Micah Parsons going down with a knee injury, a non-contact knee injury. I don't want to speculate, but maybe it could be an ACL thing as well, like we kind of saw with Mahomes. If that's the case, Micah might be out for the season, and he is probably the most important player on your defense, him and Xavier McKinney, and losing him would be massive. Like Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness would have to step up and play massively in the rest of the season. And the Christian Watson thing too, with the shoulder one. Now, hopefully that's not season ending. Hopefully he can come back at some point, because he's been really good. He's been the number one for this team. Without him out there, I think we're going to see a bit more Matthew Golden. So, maybe the downside of losing Watson is that you lose Watson, but the good side of losing Watson is that maybe we get a bit more Golden. I mean, he had a really nice grab towards the end of the game there, so we'll see about that one. Still losing Watson, losing Micah. I think they lost an offensive lineman as well. I've obviously watching every single game, so off the top of my head, I think they did lose one. Very unfortunate for this team. They got some work to do the rest of the way. This thing is not over by no means. They have Chicago next week, which is going to be a massive revenge game for Chicago. Chicago's going to want to get that one back, but it will be massive because you win that game, you're back on top of the division, and you got the Baltimore Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings to end the season. So massive, massive game next week on Saturday night. So make sure you're ready on Saturday for that. And lastly, the San Francisco 49ers went up against the Tennessee Titans and won 37-24. Not much to talk about here in terms of San Francisco side of things. Brock Purdy played well. McCaffrey played well. Good to see Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle play well, is all out there. And this Niners team, like, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're 10-4. If the Rams slip up, the Niners are going to be right there to scoop up this division. They're going to make the playoffs. And I mean, San Francisco is just such a good and well-coached football team that I don't think anyone really wants to play this Niners team. Like, I don't think they're going to win a championship this year, but they could be that like a bit of a boogeyman in the playoffs where they probably won't win, but like, you don't want to play them because they're so well-coached, and you know that Purdy, McCaffrey, and all their stars in the offense can go nuclear any single given night, and they kind of did so in this one. Now, more of the focus here on the Titans. Cam Ward's playing good, man. Cam Ward is starting to play his best football of his young career these past few weeks. Cam Ward has looked quite nice. Now, look, the numbers are not pretty in terms of his overall season. 2,468 yards, 9 touchdowns, 7 picks. But when you look at like the last 5 games or so, like 172 touchdowns versus the Niners, 117, 2 touchdowns versus the Browns, 141, no touchdowns versus Jacksonville, 256 and 1 touchdown versus the Seahawks, 194 and 1 touchdown versus the Texans. Like, those are some 5 excellent defenses, and he has, in that 5-game stretch, 6 touchdowns to 1 pick. That's not bad for a young quarterback, man. So Cam Ward looks like he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable. I thought he was really sharp out there today. It also does help they've gotten Tony Pollard going as well, but makes me a little bit more confident that if Tennessee can surround Cam Ward, they might have something brewing special over there. But again, can they actually build around Cam? That's going to be the major challenge for them. But shout out to Cam Ward. He's still fighting. The Titans are going to be in contention for the #1 pick. So realistically speaking, they want to lose out. And good to see them fight, though. Like, they were fighting till the very end, and I respect that. So good for them. But you guys let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on this particular week? And guys, we got 3 more weeks to the freaking playoffs. Just makes me sad, man. And John Cena just retired. Brutal couple days here. Hit the like and subscribe button. Love you guys. Peace.